Goddamn disclaimers. I do not endorse any use of any kind of substance, whether it's psychoactive or non-psychoactive, whether it's legal or illegal. I don't endorse you eating spinach. I don't endorse you eating mushrooms of any kind, psychoactive or non-psychoactive. I am making these videos simply to share my experiences and raise awareness and reduce self-harm. Emphasize on that last part. That's what I'm trying to do with these videos that are psychedelic related. So there goes my disclaimer. Do your own research. Do your own research. Don't trust me. Okay, I just share my experiences. Now, let's say you're someone, a certain someone, okay, who has experimented with a certain compound, perhaps of a psychoactive nature, perhaps of a fungal nature, and you've had a really profound experience, really deep, profound experience. You might have even had an ego death, and you merged into everything and you've become literally everything, and you've experienced that for like 5 hours straight, where you just had an ego death. You were the trees, you were the animals, you were the earth, you were your brother, you were your friends, you were everybody, and everybody was you, and you experienced that oneness. And you've experienced love and compassion, and you've felt emotions, and you've cried, and you've laughed. You've really gone through some kind of a next level roller coaster, and you've felt, essentially, you've come to a visceral experience of life, and you've just lost yourself for a little bit. You know, you forgot who you are, you forgot your story, you forgot, you know, your place in the world, right? You had an ego death. You merged into everything and everyone. And now, the effects of that certain, supposedly psychoactive compound is beginning to wear off. And you are coming back to conscious awareness, the ego structure. Inevitably, that's gonna happen. Just give it a few hours. And now, you've experienced this love, this overwhelming love. You've experienced this overwhelming compassion. You've experienced this oneness. You've experienced this unity. You've experienced yourself as everything and everyone. And now, you're coming back to good old me. Good old Saeed, good old Bob, you know, good old whatever your name is. You know, you're back to this. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Oh, I gotta be in school tomorrow. I gotta go to work on Monday, right? I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Back to the ego, right? I gotta get back into society, right? Because for a brief period of time, under the influence of certain compounds, all boundaries dissolve, and societal boundaries seem very absurd. I mean, you know, for me, whenever I'm tripping and I say I'm with a friend of mine and we start to talk about society, because I mean, I usually do it here in the woods, we start to laugh because everything seems very absurd. All the societal norms and societal behavior and societal boundaries seem very absurd. So, but you gotta go back to that, because now that you know, you gotta go back from the trip. You gotta integrate back into society. Now look, if you're someone who lives off the grid, right? You live off the grid, and you're living in like a community or something, right? And you grow your own food, and you have your own supply of energy, maybe solar panels or something, and you're just completely off the grid, completely out of society, out of the government. You know, there's certain communities out there that exist like that, more and more coming. Then you probably don't need to do too much integration work. You always need to do integration work, but you're not in society, right? You're not in society, so you're kind of living. Maybe you got your own farm, big ass farm, and that's your life. You're not in society, right? Everything is self-sustained. There isn't too much integration there. There always will be, but not too much, because you're not involved very deeply with the matrix. But that's not true for most of us. That's not true for most of you guys watching. That's definitely not true for me. We gotta go back to society. We gotta go back to our school, our work, our jobs, hell, our communities. Like, if you know, it's something as simple as the gym. Like, for me, the gym is a community, right? Like, I've made so many friends, met so many people from the gym. You gotta go back to your communities. You gotta go back to society. You gotta go back to people that have not experienced what you just experienced. So now, with this new understanding of life and oneness and unity and love and compassion, you gotta go back to this place where not a whole lot of people have any fucking clue or idea about what the fuck it is you're talking about, or any of it. Like, they don't understand, because they've never had this experience. Most people have never had a true psychedelic experience, a true ego death, a true feeling of oneness, of unity that you experience on a psychedelic. And that's very difficult. That's very challenging. And that can lead to anxiety. That can lead to depression. Not depression per se. It could, but it can lead to anxiety. Now I'm going to tell you guys about my experience with this. Probably the first 10 trips or so that I had. Not the first one. The first one was a lower dose. I didn't have an ego death experience. But the subsequent trips, especially the big ones, the 5 grammers, the 6 grammers, there was a period after the trip where I had anxiety. I had anxiety going out to the public. I had anxiety talking to people. I had anxiety talking to chicks. I had anxiety because I can no longer look at these people the same way. I can no longer look at the world the same way. I can no longer look at the things that I used to do the same way. I can no longer look at myself the same way. And so there was this anxiety, because I went from a place of, my name is Saeed, and I was born in this country, and I moved to Canada, and this is my storyline, and this is who I am, to, holy shit, I am infinite awareness, and I am made of love, and I'm just having this temporary experience of this character whose name happens to be Saeed, and holy shit, I wonder how many past lives I've had. I wonder how many future lives I have. I wonder if there's any aliens out there. And yeah. So that I had anxiety, and I think many people will have anxiety going from that perception of the world to this perception of the world of yourself, right? It's as simple as that, just yourself. Very confusing place, very anxious place, because most people will not understand that. And here you are, right? Like, then there was that version, right? You know, okay, that's who I am, and who are you? What's your storyline, right? Now, I went from talking to people, hey, tell me, what's your name? What's your storyline? What's this? What's that? To, holy shit, I am also looking at another stream of consciousness, another loving awareness, another infinite awareness, that is also made of love, and they're also having this temporary experience of whatever that subjective experience is. And so it became very difficult for me to even talk to people. It's like I'm looking at them, I'm seeing them for who they really are, which is just awareness, loving awareness, having a temporary subjective experience of whatever it is that they are. And it became very difficult for me to talk to people. You know, I'd be there and I'd be talking to them and I'd be on a mind fuck, because I'd be looking at who they really are, but I can tell they don't know who they are. And if I was to even begin to explain to them what I'm looking at, what I'm thinking, they would automatically think I'm some kind of a psycho. So that went on for a little bit, this anxious phase, let's call it, this anxiety of post-integration of the wisdom and the experiences that you get from delving into psychedelics, having and the experience of ego death, which is the experience of oneness and unity and merging into everything and everyone. So since then, I've gotten over that phase. I can go back to talking to people about boring, mundane shit and actually still be there and engaged in their storyline, engaged in who they think about themselves, and all that comes with it. And the way I did that is I started to notice that I need to really spend some time alone after any major psychedelic trip and really reflect on what did I just experience. And this is very important. How am I going to constructively use the wisdom, use the experience that I just gained from this psychedelic trip that I just had to improve myself and to improve the society around me? This is very important, guys. Very, very important. Because if you're not going to set the intention of using the things you've learned, the experiences that you've learned in a constructive manner that is going to elevate society. And if you guys are watching this and you've done some psychedelics, or you know, on the same vibe, let's say, you know, these things make you care about the world because you realize you are the world, and you have to care about the world and greater things. And so it's very important to take what the psychedelic tells you. The psychedelic will always tell you that you're everything and everyone, and say, okay, I gotta care about the world, I gotta care about nature, I gotta care about the plants, the animals, my fellow human beings, and say, how am I going to use this knowledge and this wisdom constructively to help build a better world, to help build a better society? And if you set that intention and you sit down and after every psychedelic trip that you have, really reflect on it, really say, okay, look, this is what the situation is right now. Most people are asleep, they're not awake, they're not aware of who they are. What did the psychedelic teach me? The psychedelic taught me to love everyone. So you know what? I'm just going to love everyone and I'm going to accept them where they are right now. See, part of the anxiety that I had was I had cognitive dissonance, which is reality was a certain way, which is basically most people around you, wherever you go, are asleep. Then I didn't accept that, right? And that was creating the anxiety because I would be looking at people, I'd be like, don't you guys know who you are? And at the same time, what reality is, is that they don't. But I wasn't accepting that. I wasn't accepting that, okay, you know, people, everyone is at a different level here. The society that we live in, most people are absolutely not aware of any of this shit. They're not aware at all of what's going on here. They're not aware of their infinite nature, of their loving nature, that they're an awareness, having a human experience, a spiritual being having a human experience. I wasn't accepting that. Because now suddenly I was expecting that everyone should be awake, right? But reality says otherwise. So, but then I say, well, what does the psychedelic teach me? The psychedelics repeatedly, over and over, taught me to love everyone and accept everyone. Love and accept, meaning I gotta accept you for where you are right now, whatever place you are, whether it's on a spiritual level, on a physical level, on a mental level, and I gotta love you in the moment, and I gotta accept you in the moment. And the more I started to integrate that mindset, the more and more that anxiety went away. Because then I can sit down and I can have what you would call a boring ass mundane conversation with someone, because I'm in total acceptance of where that person is in life and in total acceptance of where I am in life at the moment. You see? It goes both ways. The psychedelic teaches you that. It teaches you that you are everything is a mirror. The world is your mirror. So accepting where I am and loving myself in the moment, and accepting where that other person is and loving them in the moment. From that place, the anxiety begins to fade away, because you can just have a conversation about the weather, or you can have a conversation about that person's past or that person's future, or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, because again, most people are so stuck and attached to their story, you know, and they're just attached to their egos, attachments essentially. Most people are attached to this worldly existence, attached to their lower nature, attached to this game, right? And take it too seriously. And you have to accept that that's the way it is. You have to accept that, yeah, okay, most people are at that level, and try and see the good in them, and try to love them in the moment, and accept them in the moment. This is why it's very important to properly integrate your psychedelic experiences, your psychedelic wisdom back into society as you merge into society, right? I've honestly found it at some point to be very difficult to speak to my parents, because I'm like, what am I gonna talk to them about now? At some point in the phase of experimentation, I found it very difficult to speak to my parents. I found it very difficult, and I had to think about it. And I'm like, okay, what is the main lesson the psychedelic teaches you? Psychedelic teaches you to love everyone and accept everyone. So yes, okay. Mentally speaking, ideologically speaking, you and your parents are at a complete different level at the moment. I'm not saying when I say complete different level, I'm not saying somebody's better, somebody's worse. I'm just saying, like, you know, it is what it is, right? It's a vibrational, let's say you and your parents, just what I told myself, you and your parents at the moment, different vibration, different frequency, right? And that can make it very difficult to talk and to get along. But hey, what's the highest frequency? What does psychedelic always teach you? What does it always show you? Love. So why don't you just love your parents? Why don't you just accept them where they are and love them in the moment? And when I made that choice, and that reflection, and reflected on all these things, and I really started to make the choice of acceptance, of love, then the anxiety began to go away, and my interactions with people begin to improve once again. So there's like almost two parts of me: the part that sees the other person for who they are, and the other part that sees that person where they are in the present moment. So the one part sees the person for who they really are, the other part sees the other person for where they are in the present moment in their human experience, and acts accordingly. It's very difficult for me to explain this shit. Hi. I don't know if I explained this properly, to be honest. It's a paradox. What I'm trying to explain here is a paradox. But after what, 20 minutes of rambling, hopefully you get something out of it. Hopefully you get something out of it. The moral of the story: take your sweet ass time integrating back the wisdom, the love, the compassion, the oneness, the awareness, the expanded awareness that you gain from using psychedelics, from having an experience like an ego death. Take your time integrating it back. As you integrate yourself, as you go back, inevitably you have to go back to society, to the people around you that will not understand what the fuck you're talking about or what's going on here. But you have to deal with them. I have to deal with my parents for the rest of my life, for the rest of their lives. God bless their souls. You have to deal with society. You have to deal with people that are just not, like, very unlikely for them to wake up from the matrix, to wake up to who they are in this lifetime, at least. You know, everybody wakes up eventually, but the truth is, we all have to deal with that. We all have to deal with, like, people that are so close to you, like your parents, right? We got to deal with all of this, and that's why take your time integrating back. That's it, guys. God bless you all. Hopefully you got something out of this rant, and I love every single one of you, but as always, don't forget to subscribe, or you're gonna sleep with the fishes.